we look at the next setting, which is the data sharing rules. So what is this data sharing rules and when do you use it? If you recall, we mentioned an example of a sales manager going on vacation and the team members having to access the manager's records in order to carry on with their work, right? So this data sharing rules, this setting would be useful in such a case. If you want to share an entire module from role A to role B, you would go for data sharing rules. For instance, I will get into the product and demonstrate this setting. Again, to go and configure data sharing rules, you have to go to setup under users and control, go to security control, go to data sharing settings. Right after default organization permissions, if you scroll down, you have the sharing rules. So each module can have a sharing rule. Now let's say in our case, Martha Hills goes on vacation and Susan Lawson has to be able to access Martha's records as well. In such a case, you can opt for sharing rules. When you want to share an entire module from one role to another role or one group to another role, you will go for data sharing rules. If you want to share only a few records from any module, it could be 5 records from the leads module and 10 records from the contacts module. It doesn't matter. The sharing is at the record level. In that case, you will go for record level sharing. If it is at the module level, you will go for data sharing rules. So we will look at how this works. So I'm going to the sharing rules. I'm going to say I will share the leads module. We'll create a new sharing rule and we'll select role here. I'll come to this option later. We'll select roles. So I want to share from sales manager product to sales reps product, right? So which means all the sales manager's data, that is with respect to the leads module, all the records from the leads module that belong to the sales manager will be shared with the sales reps in this case. The access type, I'll say read, write, delete. We will come to superiors allowed later. Create sharing rule. Okay. Now we have a sharing rule that says the leads module of the sales manager can be shared with the sales reps with a read, write, delete access type. So in our case, we have Martha Hills, who is a sales manager. If Martha Hills is on vacation, these records should also be shared with Susan Lawson. At the moment, Susan Lawson is able to see only her own records. But with the new sharing rule enabled, you will see that Susan Lawson is also able to access Martha Hills' records. Okay, so one thing to note here is that once you enable the sharing rule, all the records from the leads module, if Martha Hills had owned 3 records, right? These 3 leads are owned by Martha Hills. All 3 records have been shared with Susan Lawson. Now let's say you don't want to share all the records belonging to the same module. You only want to share 2 records, maybe just the first 2. In that case, in our example, just the first 2 records. So now what can be done is you can stop this sharing rule, right? I will delete this sharing rule. Okay, so now things have gone back to how they were before. Susan Lawson will not be able to access Martha Hills' records. So that particular data sharing rule which we created has stopped working, which means we have gone back to square one, where the sales rep is not able to access the sales manager's data. So now let's say our requirement is to share just 2 records belonging to Martha Hills to Susan Lawson. Now, in order to get this done, where you are only sharing a select few records from a module and not the entire module. For this, we need to choose what we call record level sharing. To enable record level sharing, the manager should first have the sharing permission enabled in his or her profile. So in our example, the manager in question is Martha Hills. So Martha Hills wants to share just a couple of records with Susan Lawson, who is her subordinate. And for this, we should check if Martha Hills first has the sharing permission enabled in her profile. Alright, so let's go to the super admin account. I'm logged into Amelia Barroso's account now. And let's go to the list of users and look at which profile Martha Hills is tied to. Right, sales managers. Okay, so let's go to security control, check the sales manager's profile and see if the sharing permission has been enabled. Okay, so the sharing permission has been enabled for all modules. That means Martha Hills is now going to be able to share any of her records with any user she chooses. If not, you should come and enable the sharing permission. So the administrator should enable the share permission for whoever wants to share their records with other users. All right. Since the sharing permission has been enabled, let's go to Martha Hill's account and go to this record. This is the record that she wants to share. Couple of records, right? So go to this record under the more icon, click share, choose which user, Susan Lawson. So if she wants to share this with other users, she can do so. In our case, we are only going to share this with Susan Lawson. All right, full access, read write or read only. I'm going to say full access. With related list, it's better to choose with related list because you will have access to associated items as well in this case. So share. So the associated items include tasks, events, calls, other integrations. Any other related list data also will be shared. So along with the sales information, record information, all other related list data will also be shared with Susan Lawson. Okay, so now let's go to Susan Lawson's account. Let's check how her leads module works. Right? Only one record belonging to Martha Hills has been shared because this is a sharing done at the level of a record. Record by record, we have gone and shared. So only the selected records will be shared with the subordinate. So we'll try this again. Let's go to Martha Hills' account, go to the leads module, or let's go to the contacts module. Say, okay, Gayatri Ragam, this is the contact that I want to share. Go to the record detail page and share with Susan Lawson with full access and with related list. Right? So view info, shared with the user's details. The data sharing details have also been displayed. So now if you go into Susan Lawson's account, refresh, go to contacts, this has been shared. Contact owner is Martha Hills. So that is how record level sharing works. So it's very simple. If you want to share an entire module from one role or a group to another role or a group, you go for data sharing rules. If you want to share only a few records from different modules or from the same module, basically the sharing is enabled at the record level. Then you go for record level sharing, for which first the sharing permission should be enabled for whoever wants to share, and the administrator has to take care of that. Once the sharing permission has been enabled, that user can go ahead and share their records to any user of their choice. So now that this is sorted, let's go and look at sharing data with peers. Sharing data with peers in the same role, to be specific. So what does this mean? Now, as far as this hierarchy is concerned, right now, Susan Lawson and Sharanya, similarly, Ned and Ricky Thomas. So they are all at the same rank. They are all sales reps, but they are not going to be able to look at each other's data. Susan and Sharanya belong to the same division, but still they will not be able to look at each other's data. If you want to change this, if you want to make sure that people in the same role are able to access each other's data, then you can enable this in the role hierarchy itself, and that is called sharing data with peers. So let's go to the super admin account to understand this better. Let's go to roles. So here we have these many roles: VP sales, sales manager, product. We have only one user here. Sales reps product has two users associated to it, correct? Susan Lawson and Sharanya Ramachandran. And if we go to sales reps of services, we have Ricky Thomas and Net. So this is a deleted user, don't worry about this. These two are the active users, Ricky Thomas and Net. So now, if we want to make sure that Ricky Thomas and Net, between the two of them, are able to share each other's data, everything, that is, whether it is leads or contacts, it doesn't matter. Anything that is accessible by Ned should be accessible by Ricky as well. So they should be able to share data between each other. If that has to happen, then what you can do is go to that particular role, edit it, and enable this option called share data with peers. All right, and then save this. Okay, now let's say, so now we have 2 records owned by Net and 2 records owned by Ricky Thomas. Let's go into Net's account. This is Net's account. Let's go to leads. Now you see Net and Ricky Thomas, right? They are both sales reps belonging to the services division. Earlier, they did not have this visibility to look at each other's data. Now we have enabled share data with peers. Now they are able to see each other's data. If I go into Ricky Thomas's account and refresh, I'm able to see both of their data, right? This is the account of Ricky Thomas, but I'm also able to see next data. Now, if you want to stop this, disable sharing data with peers, go to the same role, edit, disable this, save. This is how it was previously. Now let's go and refresh. Data sharing has stopped. Similarly, you go refresh. Data sharing has stopped. So the takeaway is that if you want people in the same role to be able to share data with each other, then for that particular role, you would go and enable share data with peers option.